Hey everyone, it's your girl, and today we're talking about a mildly controversial topic. So this has to do with the idea of actually seeing yourself in the media, being represented, so to speak. And I know that nowadays, especially nowadays more than ever, people are really pushing the idea of you, yourself, being represented in a movie. I always thought this was a really strange idea, especially when they started throwing like race and gender and orientation into that little mix of like representing entire groups of people. Because the idea of representing entire groups of people sounds kind of complicated. It sounds like you have to go by stereotypes in order to represent an entire group of people. Because just because two people are within the same group doesn't mean that they act like everyone else within the same group. People have different personalities, people have different characters. You can't represent an entire group of people unless you're trying to say that this entire group of people are all the same. Or at least that's how I've always kind of seen it. Another way of seeing it would be that by being represented, it's showing you what you should be like, because you're a part of this certain group. So as a woman seeing a lot of feminist movies and seeing this ideal version of a strong female representation, me seeing that and feeling like, are they trying to tell me I should be like her? Or are they trying to tell me that I am already like her? Or that this entire group of women are exactly like her, we're all exactly the same. And I think those are just a couple examples of where the pitfalls of representation kind of fall towards. But then of course there's the more shallow versions of representation, and that usually has to do with someone's appearance. So the idea behind that is to create a character that represents every type of person. So like disabled people, or, female with brown hair, male with red hair, all kinds of different mixtures of people. And I think that's a really good idea. But just because you've created those characters that fit all kinds of different people in the world, doesn't mean that those types of people are going to magnetize themselves over to that character and feel represented in that character. Like, I remember a small portion of my life where I had my bangs down. Right now I have them separated, but I had my bangs down and I used to wear ponytails, and people used to tell me that I looked like Kitty Pryde. I hated Kitty Pryde. That was the last thing I wanted to hear, was that I looked like Kitty Pryde. They were like, oh, you should cosplay as her. No! I don't want to cosplay as Kitty Pryde. Just because I look like Kitty Pryde, just because I have like similar features to her, doesn't mean that I like her as a character. It doesn't mean that I feel connected to her in any way. Because I'm just not a fan of Kitty Pryde. I don't really like her powers that much. I don't think she has appealing personality. Me personally, you can like Kitty Pryde if you want. So one of the most famous videos out there about comic characters and representation is this one video from, I think, MTV Decoded, where Francesca Ramsey is interviewing people at Comic-Con.
Can you name 7 superheroes of color?
And one of the people that she's interviewing is dressed up as Mr. Incredible, and he is of color. So it kind of makes you think, why didn't he dress up as Frozone? Well, maybe it's because he didn't feel an instant connection to Frozone. Maybe there's something about Mr. Incredible that he feels that connection to. Maybe it's because he has a whole family, and he feels that connection to Mr. Incredible taking care of his family. And as long as we're on the topic of Comic-Con, I should mention cosplay. There are a lot of cosplayers who feel like they should have more characters that look more like them, just to make their cosplay choices a lot easier.
I get a lot of people who are like, yo, we should make something for your chair, because there's not a lot of characters that are disabled.
Because of course, when you cosplay a character who is a different color than you, or a different gender than you won't have an accurate cosplay when you actually dress up like them. Now let me make this painfully clear. You can dress up as whatever character you want. It does not matter. I have male cosplays. You know what I do? I just strap them down. Is it perfectly accurate? Well, it's not like I'm trying out for a movie. It's not like I'm going to a live-action movie with this cosplay, like, give me the part. So who cares? Who cares if your cosplay looks perfect or not, right? You shouldn't cosplay a character just because they look like you and you could pull it off the best. I know that professional cosplayers, it's a little bit of a different story because they want to make it look as accurate as possible, so they specifically cosplay characters that look a lot like them. But for the most part, if you're cosplaying for fun, just cosplay characters that you want to dress up as. It doesn't matter how accurate it looks. Just don't even worry about that. Another topic that's come up more recently is Brie Larson's comments.
We're expanding to make films that better reflect the people that buy movie tickets, but they are not allowed enough chances to read public discourse on these films by the people that these films were made for. I do not need a 40-year-old white dude to tell me what didn't work for him about A Wrinkle in Time. It wasn't made for him. I want to know what that film meant to women of color, to biracial women, to teen women of color, to teens that are biracial.
Captain Marvel kind of having this huge backlash against it because of Brie Larson's comments. She brought up this whole idea that movies are made for specific groups of people. Movies are made for a specific demographic, and if you're not part of that demographic, your opinion on the movie will not matter. Now, I do understand the movies are made for a specific demographic, and I think that's fair, but it's not really fair to exclude any other people outside of that demographic from having opinions on the movie, having critiques, saying that they don't really matter, that they can't put any input into it. It's kind of segregating. What's more, the assumption is that because Captain Marvel is a woman, because she's a female, powerful lead, it is impossible for men to connect to her. But like I said, it might also be impossible for a large portion of women to connect to her. Because just because we're both women doesn't mean we're gonna magnetize together. So it's really not fair to spread this idea that if you are not a part of a specific character's specific group, then you cannot connect to them. You have no connection to that character. It doesn't matter if you have the same likes. It doesn't matter if you have a similar personality or a similar quirk. You cannot possibly connect to that character. You don't look like them. You know, I watched a lot of cartoons when I was growing up. And you know one of the characters that I connected to? Danny Phantom. You might have noticed that my name is based on that show. But I connected to Danny because he was kind of going through similar situations that I was. You know, awkward teenager things, complications with your love life, always trying to do the right thing but messing it up somehow, clumsy, in some episodes depressed. You know, I really had that connection with Danny. I felt what he felt. And it didn't matter to me that there were other female characters in the show. Maybe some of them even looking like me at the time. It didn't matter. I could have connected to Sam, right? But I had nothing in common with Sam. Just because she was a girl is like... They even have a gender-bent Danny in this show who was my age during the time of watching this show. And I didn't connect to her! In fact, I hated that character. The gender-bent Danny, worst character in the whole series. I only connected to the original. Thank you very much. And I think that's how we should treat characters. We should leave their groups, their looks, leave it in the background. Come up with the character first. Come up with the personality first. Come up with main key details about that character, and then you can figure out what they look like. I don't think the audience is as shallow or arrogant as Hollywood thinks they are. I mean, maybe when you're a kid, you're a little bit shallow and arrogant, but once you grow up, you kind of grow out of that, you know? It's like, hey, they don't have to look like me. I'm not the best thing ever. I'm not special. They don't have to act like me either. They don't have to be exactly like me. And people don't always want to see themselves in the movie. You ever think about that? Sometimes people don't actually want themselves to be in the movie. Some people hate themselves. but rather what they want is to actually see a better version of themselves a lot of times. They want to see an inspiration, a role model, something that they can strive to be, because they personally actually want to change themselves inside. I just want to be able to relate to their struggle. I just want to feel something when something bad happens to them. I want to love and care about the characters as if I know them in real life. And it doesn't matter what I look like, and it doesn't matter what they look like. And Rosa, the woman playing Alita in the new Alita Battle Angel movie, I think she really summed it up very well in this interview.
Yes, this is a movie where young women will be inspired, but more so than that, as a young moviegoer, there were many male protagonists that I related to. I don't think there's anything wrong with that. I just think that now we have a strong, relatable female protagonist that young boys can also identify with. It's all about having an array of perspectives.
Anyone can connect to a good character who has a relatable struggle. Anyone can watch a movie and have valid critiques on it. Anyone can look up to a strong character and see them as a role model. So those are some of my opinions on what it's like to see yourself in entertainment media. Be sure to tell me what you think down below in the comments. Keep it clean, guys. This isn't a war zone, it's just YouTube. Remember to like the video and feel free to check out my other videos. I'll see you guys next time. Bye!
Program restart.